Today, we are going to talk about the differences between ISO 42001 and NIST AI RMF and what each one is, where it fits, and do they work and complement each other or they contradict each other. We are going to find that all out in this video. So first things first, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Lata. I'm the head of AI governance at Global AI Certification Council, where we offer AI governance certifications. And I also serve as head of AI governance at govern365.ai, which is an AI governance tool or a GRC tool. So most people think they have to choose between ISO 42001 and NIST AI RMF, but they don't. But knowing which one to start, which one to use at what time, that actually matters. NIST AI RMF helps you to manage AI risk. As the name says, RMF, Risk Management Framework. So it focuses mainly on AI risk. Although ISO 42001 gives you a full certifiable AI management system, that is for the full organization level. See, currently, EU AI Act is now law. Even APRA, that's Australian authority, they are also pushing AI governance. Not only that, most of the countries like Japan, South Korea, Brazil, every country is trying to bring in the AI law. So the buyers who are buying all these AI systems are asking for proof. For that, they need framework. So before that, let's understand the differences between regulation and framework. So regulation, when I say, I mean EU AI Act and all that. When I say framework, which is ISO 42001 and NIST AI RMF. A regulation is the law. Break it. If you break it, we will get fined. So example is EU AI Act is a regulation or law. Okay. A framework is a structured step-by-step task for how to do something well. For example, in our case, for NIST and ISO, this tells us a detailed step-by-step framework in terms of how to implement AI governance or how to prove AI governance in accordance with all the laws and regulation. So that's the main difference. So regulation tells you what to do or what you shouldn't do. Frameworks help you to prove that you have done it or not. So why do you need a framework even when you have a law? As I said, regulation tells you what to achieve. Framework tells you how do we achieve. It also tells us how to prove that we are following all the laws and regulation. Then auditors and buyers always look for recognized frameworks as proof. And because NIST is recognized, ISO 42001, which is also a certifiable standard. So it's recognized. So always auditors and buyers would look for those kind of frameworks. And the thing is, a good framework will align with multiple regulations. So, for example, you are serving products or services in different countries. Even if you use one framework correctly, it can actually align with multiple regulation, and you can sell your product and services to multiple different countries. Then frameworks give your team a common language and structure to speak. And not only that, without a framework, we will be doing the same thing over and over again for different AI systems. That will be too much of work. So frameworks will give you a repeatable way of auditing your AI management system. So now what is NIST AI RMF? It is actually a voluntary US-based framework for identifying and managing AI risk. So NIST AI RMF has 4 core functions. Govern, that is how we set all the AI risk culture and who is responsible for what. Map, it helps you understand the context and impact of your AI. Then measure, how to test and assess the risk it actually creates. Then manage, how do we treat, how do we monitor, how do we mitigate and respond to those risks. So this particular framework is free to download. There is no certification and no audit. It's like someone who are starting early, they need a framework to follow, especially when they are a US-based federal agency. NIST AI RMF is the good choice. NIST RMF fits when you need to actually start, as I said. So if you're a US-based with no immediate certification mandate, you can use NIST. You want a low-cost way to structure AI risk thinking, this would be very helpful. Or if you're selling to US federal agencies aligning with NIST, then it's helpful. And if you're early to the AI governance journey and you still do not want to spend more time and money into other certifiable standard, if you're just starting, as I said, then you can use NIST RMF. Then if you need internal alignment before committing to an audit, then this is a good place to start off. Next, what is ISO 42001? It is a global certifiable standard for AI management system. So what it actually gives you, it gives you an AIMS, which is AI management system for your whole organization. It follows a PDCA cycle. If you've already done ISO 27001 or ISO 27701 or even 14001, you know that most of the management systems follow a PDCA cycle. Plan, do, check, and act. Same is there for ISO 42001. Next is it has around 9 control objectives and 38 controls on how to implement ISO 42001 for the whole organization. Then it has roles, policies, records, reviews. It is actually audit ready by design. So then we need actually a third party certification that someone, an external auditor or even an internal auditor verifies and give this. So it is also helpful for buyers to verify and use our AI products or services. So where does ISO 42001 fit? As we already saw, NIST RMF framework fits when you actually start a project, start an AI project. ISO 42001 we can do when we actually have to prove that we are following a law or regulation. So if you're selling to enterprises demanding certification in their request proposals, then we need ISO 42001. If you operate in European Union and need AI Act alignment evidence, then we need ISO 42001. You are in a regulated industry like banking, finance, healthcare, defense, then you need ISO 42001. If you want actually a board level audit trail, then that also you need ISO 42001. If you need a recognized badge that buyers and regulators trust, this ISO 42001 would be very helpful. So let me give you a side-by-side comparison of both NIST and ISO so you can easily understand. So as you can see, ISO 42001 is a management system standard. But NIST AI RMF, as the name says, it's a risk management framework. Here, for ISO 42001, the focus is on governance and controls, whereas for RMF, it's only risk identification and treatment. So NIST is actually a subset of ISO 42001. ISO 42001 is by ISO or IEC, and it's a global certifiable standard. But NIST is by NIST, and it is applicable to US government only. Both NIST and ISO are voluntary frameworks, but ISO 42001 is certifiable, whereas NIST RMF is not certifiable. ISO 42001 follows PDCA cycle, plan, do, check, and act. RMF follows govern, map, measure, and manage. The cost for ISO 42001, it's actually paid, plus the audit, the implementation, even to get certified, there is a cost involved, whereas RMF is actually free to download and you can implement. For audit, we need third-party certified person to audit. That's why we need ISO 42001 lead auditor or senior lead auditor to do it. For NIST, it's self-assist. As long as you have in your organization, someone can implement it, they can access it on their own. So that's actually, ISO is for proving governance to others. For NIST is for building governance internally. So I hope you understand the main differences. So they actually complement each other. So NIST informs risk thinking. ISO turns it into a system. Okay. So NIST has even published an official crosswalk mapping and AI RMF framework to ISO 42001, which means they are built to coexist. So even on our govern365.ai platform, we can use both ISO 42001 and NIST AI RMF framework at the same time for the same organization. So which means for ISO 42001, we can add all the clauses and annexures. And even for NIST AI RMF, we can do all those 4 core functions. So all that are possible here. So I'm going to give you like 5 real scenarios, which would help you to pick which one is suitable, whether it is ISO 42001 or NIST AI RMF. So let's go for those 5 real scenarios. Let's say it's a Sydney bank with credit decision AI under APRA, which is Australian Prudent Regulation Authority scrutiny. If that's the case, it's very clear we have to pick ISO 42001 because APRA expects strong AI governance and we need a certifiable system for that to get certified, and that would be a clean proof that those organizations trust. So in this case, ISO 42001. Number 2, if you're a US health tech startup, pre-Series B, building a clinical copilot, in that case, start off with NIST AI RMF. Then once, if you're moving faster, then if your clients are looking for more structured framework, then move on to ISO 42001. So in this case, start from one and finish it with ISO. Number 3, a SaaS vendor with EU customers and AI Act exposure. That is clearly we need to use ISO 42001 because it's a strong foundation for the AI Act Article 17, which is quality management system. Number 4, if US federal contractor selling AI tools to a government, then NIST AI RMF is more than enough because no certification needed yet. Number 5, your 12% team adding AI to an existing product, then probably NIST is good to start because if you do not have the revenue or commitment, or if you're not selling to different country where it requires laws and regulation, we can actually start off with NIST. And if required in the future, we can move on to ISO 42001. So before we close, here are some of the questions everyone asks. So a frequently asked question, I'm sure it is helpful for you as well. Number one, do we need both? So eventually, most mature organization end up using both. Some organization only use NIST, especially if they're only US federal agency, or if they're selling only in US. As of now, NIST is more than enough. But if they're already exposing themselves to a law or a regulation, ISO 42001 would be more effective. If in some cases, as I said before, there is a crosswalk between NIST and ISO, so we can put them to work together so we don't have to rework anything. Question number 2, is ISO 42001 mandatory? No, it is not mandatory. It's like voluntary only. Only when enterprise buyers ask for it, or if you're selling it in a specific law or regulation, then we need ISO 42001. So question number 3, what does ISO 42001 cost and how long? Even before I said NIST, you can do it internally in your organization and there is no cost. But for ISO 42001, it takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months from kickoff to certification. Small organization would usually pay anywhere from 15 to 40,000 USD all in, including implementation, auditing, and get certified. A mid-size organization will take 40 to 90K, and large enterprises may take 90 to 200K, even more than that. And not only that, annual surveillance, audits, and recertification, that needs to be every 3 years. And if your organization already has ISO 27001, you can cut the cost and timeline by up to 30 to 50%. Question number 4, where do I actually start? So number 1, list every AI system in your organization. Most of them miss half because you know it or not, your organization, your employees are currently using AI without even you know about it. So it's important to list all of them. Number 2, read the NIST RMF. It's free to use and it's a great mental model. Do a gap assessment against ISO 42001 to see what's missing. Then train your team on AI governance fundamentals and decide whether to build internally or hire a consultant or both, and move forward and do it. Question number 5, I have ISO 27001. Do I need ISO 42001? Remember that ISO 27001 covers information security, whereas ISO 42001 covers AI governance, which means if your organization is moving into AI and it is required to be in accordance with any laws or regulation, you need ISO 42001. ISO 42001 has the same structure as that of ISO 27001, which is plan, do, check, and act. If you already have done 27001, it will reduce your effort of 42001 by 30 to 50%. You still have to know a lot of new information about all the AI-related risks like bias, drift, explainability, impact, hallucination, and a lot more. If AI is core to your product, you need both 27001 and 42001. Question number 6, I only use ChatGPT. Does this apply? If you're an AI user, not an AI developer, the bar is actually very low. You still need an AI use policy when you're using ChatGPT or vendor due diligence policy or security assessment or data controls. You need actually a clear policy for those. ISO 42001 covers AI users too, so you can do it, but doing certification just for using ChatGPT, that's too much of expense. So as long as you have a policy, that's more than enough. Question number 7, certify the whole company or one product. What does it choose? So that is actually, you can choose depending on the company size and what you want to do and how much time you have. The best thing is you can start narrow, probably take the one product line or business unit. Do that first, because when you have a narrow scope, the cost will be less and you will get certified faster and you will have actually manageable evidences. But then later, you can expand the scope and then you can go for another certification or recertification every 3 years. That will also be helpful. See, remember, we need to move fast and get certified so that we can sell in the market, because you can't be waiting longer because it takes longer time, anywhere from 6 to 18 months it can take. So start small and then increase the scope over time. Number 8, what is an AI impact assessment? As part of both ISO 42001 and NIST AI RMF, we have this impact assessment. It means how AI could affect people or group of individuals or society. So it is required under ISO 42001 clause number 8 for sure. And it covers who is impacted, what can go wrong, what's the severity and likelihood of getting all those. It just not only covers the bias, fairness, or drift or hallucination. It's much more than that. ISO and different organizations are keep expanding that, and it is definitely helpful. And ISO also released another supplementary framework for AI impact assessment, which is ISO IEC 42006, which was released in 2025. Question number 9. Can I do these both ISO 42001 and AI RMF without consultants? Yes. If you, especially if you have experience in 27001 or 9001, if once you learn 42001, you can do it without consultants. And NIST AI RMF, because it's easily downloadable, it's free to use, so you can actually do that. So which means you need to decide. If you already have experience, it's good to go and do it. If not, you may probably need an external consultant, or most of the organizations currently look for jobs, like they fill those roles to do it when they have multiple AI systems or projects. So it depends. You can either have a consultant, it's actually the decision from your leadership team. So if you, the key summary is, if you need to prove it externally to a law or a regulation, go for ISO 42001. If you need to build it internally and you're specifically focusing on US market, start with NIST and then later move on to ISO 42001. Now we exactly know where to start, how to move forward, and I'm sure I answered most of the questions. If you still have more questions, please comment down below and I will answer each one of them. Thank you so much.